Hello, Creatively Awakened Collective. I am here with the lovely Spyder, who is a conscious freedom coach. And tell us a little bit about what conscious freedom coaching is.
Well, let me just start with saying thank you, Mara, for having me in your group. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you and all of the listeners. And I hope that you get something out of this interview. And conscious freedom coaching is a process that my mentor and I developed probably 13 years ago that focuses on kind of our inner landscape. What are we believing about ourselves that on a really deep level that guide and motivate the choices that we make in our life, and even motivates how we feel and how we think. So we look at the results that show up in your life, and if it's not really satisfying, if you are continuing to create hardship, heartache, suffering, challenges, there's something going on deep inside of you that is contributing to, it's not just external forces. And so we look at what are the things that you can actually take control of by seeing and understanding your inner landscape more, being conscious of it. That's why it's called conscious freedom. When we're conscious of our own internal landscape and how it's motivating our choices, we can interrupt them and start practicing. I offer a lot of tools and practices to be aware of those patterns and then how to interrupt them and create, that brain rewiring that allows you access to more choices and then act upon them. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I could go on and on. If you have more questions, feel free. But
Beautiful. Yeah, I feel like you really touched on something in there that I've noticed in just my own experience. And I love that you are focusing on this for your life's work, which is just that movement from kind of blaming everything in our lives that's uncomfortable on the external versus bringing it into our inner landscape. I love that term. I use that phrase a lot too. So I just love that. And yeah, I know you, okay, it looks like you want to say something. Go ahead.
Well, just absolutely. We can get really stuck in that place of powerlessness or hopelessness, that really that external world and the circumstances and what shows up in our life can be like, oh, that's just the way I am, or that's just the way life is. And I really invite people to not stop there, to have more hope of possibilities for themselves.
Oh, I love that. That sounds very empowering.
It is extremely. And in terms of like creativity as well, like what's the ultimate creative act? Creativity really is when we take something out of nothing. We take something from our mind and manifest it in the world, or we take something and transform it into something else. And when we can do that with our lives, that's the ultimate act of creativity in my book.
Yeah, I love that perspective. So I know that you work with this conscious freedom coaching, but I know that you go even deeper and you are focusing in on helping women heal after heartbreak. And yeah. I'm wondering if you just want to tell us a little bit more about how you do that, or just, how you got into that, whatever you'd like to share about that. I'd love to hear more about that specific focus.
Great. Yeah, thank you. It's kind of interesting because on one hand, I feel like this work could help everybody. Everybody needs it. And it can be applied to so many different aspects of life. But when thinking about it just recently, I kind of narrowed down who I'm focusing on serving. And like you said, it's women who are healing from or recovering from a breakup or divorce. Kind of doesn't matter if it was last week or 2 years ago, if you haven't really gotten over it, because that experience was my catalyst for the biggest personal growth, biggest transformation that I've experienced in my life. When we're going through a breakup, number one, relationships are some of the most vital experiences in our life. They run the spectrum from deep joy and connection and pure bliss to extreme pain and suffering. And how there's not really that great of a handbook of, how to handle yourself after a breakup.
I feel like the handbook says blame the other person. The end.
Right. Or like, get over it.
Yeah.
In fact, I've been interviewing a lot of women lately, and one of the women I spoke to said that she had a friend that even said that to her, like, don't you think you should just be over this by now?
That makes me just like really feel for that person's heart.
Yeah. And it was a very, very difficult breakup for her. And so number one, when we're going through a breakup, I think one of the opportunities, not only for deep transformation, because I also like to work with women that have come to a point where, and this was my experience as well, where they've seen a pattern of getting involved with the same person and the same man in a different body, or continuing to attract people who are unavailable, or, like I felt unimportant or not cared for, and really unloved, which is such a horrible feeling, to feel in a relationship, and to say, I'm done with that. Like, I really want to find a way to stop having that recurring experience and do something different, really find a way to have satisfying relationships.
How that sounds like such a courageous choice to make, to really claim that. And I'm wondering if you want to share a little bit about, what your experience was, or how you take people through this process. I just would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, great question. So when I got to that place of feeling determined, that was great, but I didn't really know how to do it. And so I sought out a coach, a mentor, who was extremely compassionate, deeply caring, sensitive enough to really see me and help. Because, why I say compassionate and caring is so important is because revealing those deeper patterns can be very humbling. Oh, what? Like, oh, I have a belief about myself that I'm unlovable. But if that's what was showing up in my life, then it's an indication, it's a reflection of what's going on inside of me. And so that deeply caring, someone who could hold me through those difficult, seeing my shadow, was really important, really vital. And I transformed so much that is how I decided to dedicate my life to support others' transformations, because I'm not special. I really believe that anybody can go through a process of understanding themselves on a deeper level and I call myself a coach because it's like working out. You don't get strong overnight, or learning a new language, or how to play an instrument. Here, I'm playing the piano here. But it takes practice. It takes reinforcement to really rewire those neural pathways that work 500,000 times faster, as some experts claim, than our conscious mind. It's coming from our unconscious mind, those patterns. So that was kind of
Yeah.
answer. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. And there's something that you said in there about seeing your shadow, I think is what you said. And I'm wondering, obviously shadow work is having its, for lack of a better term, it's day in the sun, right? Which is kind of funny to say like that. But it's becoming like very trendy. I'm seeing it everywhere, and it's something I have been doing for the last 7 years with a self-awareness community. So I'm familiar with my perception of what that means, but I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about what that means to really to do shadow work, or to do, if you call it, you're helping people through shadow work, or what it means to recognize your shadow or work with it.
Yeah, it's about seeing the parts of ourselves that we can't see, but that again is motivating us, is playing upon us, either pressuring us, or it's kind of like a computer, that we have this background operating system that I'm not a computer programmer. I have no idea how they work, but they are working behind the scenes. And so basically the way I work is we look at our thoughts and our feelings as indicators. They point to deeper beliefs that we can start defining through what's really current in our life. We don't really have to, our early programming, our childhood experiences are important, but I don't dwell there. I kind of dwell more in the present and like what's going on for you right now. What just happened today? What triggered you? How are you feeling? What are you thinking, as indicators? And then when you connect to that belief that's in your shadow that you can't really see unless you're guided there, you've like really made a deep connection with your conscious mind to that part of you that does not really want to be seen, that wants to stay in the background in your operating system. But then you pull that into the light and you can affect it. You can't really affect it when it's just humming there in the background.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But when you can, like, when you use your conscious mind to connect to your unconscious, then things can really change.
Yeah.
Mm.
That sounds
And
like
there's a practice. There's, weaving the logo of my practice is a labyrinth in the shape of a brain in the middle. Like, the twisty turning, aspects of our interior until we can get to the depth of our heart and actually then start living more authentically.
Yeah.
Peeling away the layers of those patterns that were learned against our will unconsciously.
Yeah. And can I ask what is your favorite part about guiding people through this process, guiding women who are coming out of a breakup, or still working with a breakup? Do you have a favorite part of that process, or of the transformation that you see people creating?
Yeah, there is often an aha moment. I mean, we could even call it an enlightened moment, when someone is able to step out of that paradigm of the past, of their programming, of their shadow, and observe oneself and go, oh, I see I'm doing that. And at that moment, there's like almost no turning back. It still takes practice. There's still layers, but it's this empowered moment of, oh, I see I'm doing that. And what it feels like, that my practice is very somatically based, what it feels like in my body when I'm engaging in a belief that, I mean, I'm not good enough, right? That's epidemic right now as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we can start noticing when it shows up and observe it and go, oh yeah, I don't want to give my attention to that pattern anymore. And you turn away from it. And then like, oh yeah, what do I want to think about myself and my life instead? And then becomes a choice. You gain choice, which is incredibly empowering.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for mapping that little kernel out.
Thank you for asking. And it can come in the simplest ways. Like, can I give you a quick example
Yeah, please.
of one client where she was so excited to go to a yoga class. I'd been working with her for several months, and she was going to a yoga class and had arranged it so that she went for her favorite teacher. And she got there, her favorite teacher wasn't teaching. And she got on the mat and she just stewed, like a pattern of like not getting what I want is what just turned on.
Mm-hmm.
There, and all of a sudden, because she had been doing this work, something switched in her brain, and she had this aha moment where she observed herself complaining about what was going on to herself, and she realized, I'm in a yoga class. There's a great teacher here. I can just let go of that and enjoy this moment in this class. And it sounds so simple, but it was hugely transformational for her in the long run.
Yeah, simple but not easy. I feel like that's describes, I've experienced so many moments like that just in my own journey about it's like you're doing all this work for so long and then you finally see the progress of it. And so it's like sort of, if we want to use like the shadow kind of analogy, it's almost like, you've planted this seed, but then the seed has to like germinate and it has to sprout, and then the little shoot has to like make it up through the dirt and like comes up like, it's just little, like it's all bent over and then it like pops out. And I just really see that reflected in that story, that it is like really, it takes this like deep tending, and I just really feel that gentleness and tenderness in you. And I would imagine that it's just a beautiful experience to be held in that space.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for doing that. It's a tender and vulnerable place, and being able to do that makes my life and my work so satisfying to be able to do that for people. Yeah. I love
your heart.
Seed analogy is really, really good. And then you're pulling out the weeds around that little seedling too.
Yeah, I love that. And then you get to watch it like grow into a big sunflower, whatever.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We can all blossom into that sunflower.
So I know that you have a event coming up, and I am wondering if you would like to share about it.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna post the link under the video while she's talking about it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this week, well, next week, Monday through Thursday, I'm offering a 3 strategies to move from heartbroken to healed and beyond. And there'll be 3 days of training and then one Q&A day. The first day is going to be feel it to heal it. Going into what is your emotional experience right now, and being able to cultivate, so that you can experience some self-acceptance around the feelings. Day 2 will be about refocusing, so that you can, we were talking earlier about how, right, the other person's to blame. It's like, doing the U-turn, bringing the focus back to you so that you can start reconnecting, really bringing your energy back to you and taking some steps towards deeper self-confidence. And then the third day is going to be about reclaiming you. What are the steps you can take to start moving forward and mapping the next chapter of your life? And then the Thursday will be a Q&A call where I'll do some laser coaching. So if you're like chomping at the bit to get a little direct feedback, that would be a really good opportunity to get some coaching from me. It's free. It's 1 hour a day from 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific. And what Mara just did is put a link to the registration page. And that if you register for it, you'll also be guided to join my Facebook group called Women Rising. And that's where all the engagement for the training will be. There's going to be some prizes for, I'm going to have some exercises to do, in the evening or during the day, just some focused things. And I'll be offering some prizes for those that jump in.
I love the sound of that. It sounds very potent. And I look forward to tuning in, because I feel like even though I'm personally not going through a breakup at the moment, I feel like these skills that you're teaching are so applicable to really any loss or heartbreak, or even like friendship. I know a lot of people have lost friendships in the last year and a half. It seems like there's just been so much loss.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any relationships with coworkers. So it really, the work is applicable to so many situations. Like even just starting out, what am I feeling? What am I feeling in my body? What are the thoughts? What are the emotions? Like that's going to be day 1, to give yourself some time to practice tuning in. So yeah, I hope you do tune in. And like you said, you're not going through a breakup, but anybody listening, if you know anyone who is in the pain of a breakup right now, please send this on to them, and so that they can benefit.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us here in the Creatively Awakened Collective. And if you have any final thoughts, feel free to share.
I guess it's mainly that if you are feeling that pain right now, you can make a choice. How long do you want to stay in it? Like right now, ask yourself that question. If it has been lingering, it's possible to take action immediately by clicking on that link, hopping in, and engaging, and just seeing where it takes you, being curious.
I love that. Curiosity, I think, is one of the most important tools for growing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's I probably use that word so many times a day. I'm kind of curious, even when I'm asking clients, I'm just curious.
I love
and
that.
then, yeah. So thank you so much for having me. This was an honor and a pleasure to be in your beautiful presence. And yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.